We're rolling? Cool. Welcome back to the... No, that's right. First off, I guess, salute.
Salute.
Everybody, waters... Oh, that'll do.
Cheers, everybody.
Welcome back to the Inner Workings podcast. Another extremely special guest. We've been really blessed with
Some
the
good
borders
guests.
being open now and being able to get people to come through. The wonderful Kobie Dee.
Yes, sir.
Kobie is an amazing hip hop artist and also just generally an amazing guy. We've got to spend quite a bit of time together. We met maybe 5 years ago now, briefly.
I think it was like 2018.
Yeah, through Shantan. And then, time went by and then we caught up again for the first time last year. Kiln Studios, shout out. And we made Neva That, which just came out this week.
Yes, sir.
With MALI. So, thanks so much for hopping on that track. And it was such a good chemistry and so awesome to work with you and connect. And you've obviously been staying at my house here in Perth for the last day or so. And man, I've got a lot of good things to say about you. It's a long list. But welcome to Perth. And I guess starting off, how did you sort of get into music? What made you start kind of rapping?
It's a story that I always tell because it's kind of funny. I actually heard my mum. She was listening to Easy E, and it was a track Easy Does It. I don't know if you've heard of Easy Does It.
Yep.
And at the start, because I was a kid, I was like 10 years old, and I had this iPod. I think my friend had stolen it from his brother and just gave it to me at school. And there was this one song, Easy Does It. And at the start when it goes, he was once a thug from around the world. And then when he goes, shut the fuck up, get the fuck out of here. And to us, it was like the funniest thing ever. It was just funny. And we never listened to the rest of the song. And then so when I heard my mum listening to it, I'm like, what are you listening to this? It's funny. And mum goes, no, you got to listen to the rest of it. This is what I used to listen to when I was younger. So she started playing it and I don't know what it was. I did love rap music and stuff before, but when I heard this, it was something in me that was like, I can do this. It was like, I don't know. It was like something in me was just like I can rhyme. I can write raps, and went straight into my room and I wrote my first rap and come out and I showed my mom, and my mom was like, I was just swearing and all this different stuff in it. And
how did that go down?
Talking about
Do you
girls.
remember your first rhyme? Do you remember it still?
Yeah, I remember a bit of it. I was like, I kissed my first girl. It was behind a tree. We got down and dirty and we did the nasty.
Hey.
And I was like, you might not know me. My name is Kobie Dee. I'm the sickest new rapper since Ice Cube and Easy E.
Hey.
That was my first. But there's a lot more to it. But that's what I remember from it. And my mum was like, you can't be swearing like that. But she was like, I think she was surprised that I could actually rap.
String
I could
words,
actually put words together.
Did you mimic the American accent at first, or did you always do it in an Aussie accent?
Nah, I used the American accent for ages until I was like 16. And it was actually because I was doing performances and stuff, and I did Mad Pride with this youth service. They used to put on Mad Pride in Mental Health Week, and they used to get us up and perform. So that's where I first did my first performances. And I was doing this show at Central one day. It was at Broadway. And Sky High was performing as well. So she was someone that I listened to, someone that, I looked up to as an artist. And, she's from Sydney. And I was excited. I was heaps excited. Like, she's going to be here. She's going to hear me rap. And all this shit. So I was like, I went there, I performed, and she showed up after my performance. So I was like, fuck, she didn't get to hear me rap. And then after I was like, well, this might be my chance. I chased her out as she was leaving. I was like, please let me rap for you. And she's like, yeah, show me what you got. All the kids, we all just circled around. I was 16 at the time. Everyone circled around us. My mate beatboxed and I spat a freestyle for her. And then she kind of was like, oh yeah, dope. And she went to walk away. I was like, is that it? Kind of. She's like, hit me up on Facebook. And I was like, yeah. And I still didn't think much of it, but I hit her up and she's like, yo, come around my house. I got a studio and stuff set up. And she's like, come around. I was like, sweet. I went around there and I knew that I couldn't go in there spitting like an American. So just then,
Right.
I
so
just
right then and there, you had
just
to.
right then and
you didn't
there.
even work on it. It just kind of came. Crazy.
I knew I couldn't just use my American accent because I knew she wanted that real stuff, you know, and I knew she wanted like, I just didn't want to go in there and just like, just spitting like American stuff. So it was still all my same like lyrics and stuff like that, and just use my normal accent, and then I've just stuck with it ever since. Yeah.
Dope.
And that's dope self-awareness. Some rappers don't have that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That like just instinctive switch. Yeah, that's fire.
For those that aren't familiar, who is Kobie Dee? What does Kobie Dee stand for? And I guess where's Kobie Dee headed?
I guess, who am I? I'm just a young black fella from Sydney.
Yeah.
From Eora. And I guess I don't know, I'm just someone who I speak my mind, I speak on what's important to me, I speak on my values, like music for me is a way to express myself. Music is a way for me to educate above everything as well. Like that was a big thing for me with rap is I knew it was a way for me to be heard. People actually wanted to hear my story. And then once I realized that people actually want to hear my story, then I was like, well, maybe I can rap about other things that are important to me as well. And so I started speaking about stories of people I know and issues that we face in the community and stuff like that. And so that's like what became, that's me as an artist is like, you know, like I see us rappers as like reporters, you know, reporters of what is going on in our neighborhoods and stuff like that. And so I guess like moving forward for me is like, I'm still going to be very, like that's very much who I am as an artist, and I'm always going to stick to that, but also venturing out and trying new things and, you know, like pushing boundaries and stuff like that. So, but also like other stuff like other than music as well. Like I think music has been massive for me because it's been able to, it gives me a platform to do other things that I want, you know. I thought I was going to be an actor before I got into rapping, you know, like since I was a kid. Like I always say like my first addiction was movies. Like whenever I felt bad, whenever I felt sad, whenever I felt anything, I'd put on a movie and I'd sit there and I'd watch movies. My mum said I was like the easiest kid because I'd just sit there and I'd watch movies. And, you know, like I always wanted to act and I wanted to do, you know, like, cause I know how it made me feel to watch movies and I just wanted to do that.
Recently you were in something, right, though?
Yeah.
You've done a little bit of...
I was about to say that.
Yeah, I was in a movie last year and I was in a series on Netflix called Heartbreak High.
That's right.
Talk to us about that. How was that experience? How'd you get into that?
Yeah, it was sick. Like I've acted before. I did because when I used to box, on ABC there was a film show called On the Ropes, and they wanted actual boxers to play in the show. So they picked a bunch of us from the gym and I got my small part in there and but it wasn't like, it was more just fighting scenes and I played a bit of a part in it, but Heartbreak High was my first actual acting. And it was like...
I'm going to have to check this out. I've heard the soundtrack because the soundtrack obviously made mad rounds, but I haven't, taken my time to watch it. Now I have a reason.
Yeah, I think a lot of people thought that I was just on the soundtrack.
Yeah.
And then they watched it and like, oh shit, Kobie's actually in it. Yeah. And it's funny because people in the street, I'm used to people going, oh, you're Kobie Dee, and stuff like that, ask for a photo or something like that. But now people are like, oh, you're the kid from Heartbreak High. Yeah, I was at Bunnings 3 weeks ago, and this guy, he's just like, you're the guy from Heartbreak. I thought he was gonna say, oh, you're Kobie Dee or something like that, because I seen him kind of staring at me, and then I was like, yeah, I'm from Heartbreak. He's like, I literally just binge watched the whole thing last night. I was like, oh yeah. So it's funny now people notice me from that as well. But that's something that I want to dive more into. But doing my own stuff, I want to do at one point this year, I want to do a short film. I want to write my own short film. And I don't know if I'll act in it or maybe just write it and just see all that process of it, like script writing and all that kind of stuff, because it's what we do with our music anyway, we're writing stories and stuff like that. So I want to see where that takes me as well. So.
With that in mind, what's your approach to music videos? Do you try to still instill that storytelling and that acting into it as well, or?
I definitely I come with my ideas for music, but at the same time too it's just a massive collaborating process, and usually like the people that I work with, like they have such like mad ideas and we all just come together but it's another thing where I'm kind of like, I kind of sometimes just let them do their thing. But there's songs like Same Old Shit that I was really like, I wrote exactly like what I wanted for that. Like I wanted it to be like, I wake up in my house, I go through a day and I'm walking through my neighborhood and things are happening around me, stuff like that. And then it cuts again and I wake up again and I'm walking through and it's the same people doing different things around me. So it was like, that one I was proud of because like I come to them with that idea and then the way that they, that was with Maxed Out Films and the way that they brought like my idea to life. It was like, it was hectic. So it's like, yeah, I like to be like heavily involved in that process of music, but also music videos are different too. It's like, because then I've got to perform in it, It's
That's true, yeah.
And so that's why I like to let a lot of it, I like to let them control a lot of it as well. Like still very much my ideas and stuff like that, but
you're focusing on what you got to do.
Yeah. But yeah, like basics like I went crazy with like I wanted the robot arm.
Yeah.
I chose locations and I was very heavily involved in like what I was wearing and stuff too. Cause in Dubs we had like a stylist and it was cool, like it was mad, but I feel like a lot of the stuff wasn't stuff that I would really wear. And I just kind of trusted that process. And I think like after I was like, all right, this next one, I really want to be involved in what I'm wearing and stuff that I wanted to wear. So a lot of it is my own clothes as well.
Dope.
So yeah.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, yeah, I think, just it feels everything that you've done, you can definitely tell like you've had a lot to do with it. Just like without you having to scream about you doing it, it's so dope. Like just even the
authenticity
of your stuff and just also like the evolution of your storytelling. Obviously like the first time I heard about you was like, it was Right Now was out. And obviously it's so cool that you could do something that's like banging and there, but then to see your evolution through like About a Girl and like Jody. And then even now of like, where it's like really storytelling over these like, quite, I describe as like cinematic beats or whatnot. And then like, that's why the energy you brought to Never That was so crazy because it was like, pretty weird, like, loose beat. And you just came in hard. And Marley always talks about this, like the stuff you're talking about is just so crazy, but you do it with such swagger. And I think that's like a level up for you now because you're able to like do stuff that's hard, but also like keep that storytelling kind of flex that you're so good at. So that's something that's really interesting. So yeah, it was really good to do that song with you because as soon as you delivered that verse, Marley and I were like on the train back from St. Peter's, like back to where we were.
I don't
staying.
even think we got to the train station.
We got
to the petrol station. Down the street from the studio. I was like, we have to put this out.
So, and shout out to you and shout out to like Marty, your manager, because like you guys made that so like it was just so you can tell you guys do things out of like love and out of like doing things that are cool, like, and that's just so dope, because a lot of with this industry, like there can be a lot of like red tape and I gotta get this night, but you guys are just so down to like do cool shit, and that's all we, there's no industry here in Perth, like so that's all we have. So like for you to share that energy with us, it's like it's mad respect and mad love.
It's even like because I haven't done a lot of
collaborations.
That's why we were fucking stoked,
that's why it's like it's not only dope, but like it's a privilege, especially for me, just to be able to.
Bro, you brought the best out of me in that day. Like I always say it like fuck, like when you just come in and you just like that's it. I was like, I wrote 2 lines and he's like, I got a chorus, I got a verse, and I'm just like, oh shit, I gotta step my game up a bit. And then you went out to Macca's or something. And I was like, all right, before he gets back, I'm having this verse finished. Like it was good. And then like even like you said, we were talking about it, and you said something like iron sharpens iron, something like that. And I was just like, fuck yeah, like it made me so keen to get back in the studio and writing with you, bro. I was like, it was good. And yeah, because I haven't really had that experience of working with other artists and stuff. Yeah. And it's not I don't think it's a conscious thing. Like I don't do it because I don't want to. It's like
it has to be right. It
has to be right, but also like I get a bit when when there's too many people around, or if there's like, so like I can kind of be like, sometimes I work best when I'm by myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was like, so I think that's why like I'm not always like, oh yeah, let's work in the studio together with like artists and stuff. Like
I also feel like you're someone that you don't like ego at all, which is awesome. Like I think like anytime there's ego in that, you don't want any bar of it.
Yeah.
You can tell that because it like just not even about the way you work, but just the person you are. Like you're a very genuine, nice person, and like I can just tell you're not about ego. And that's, I feel like what was really important in that session is that like, you know, it was a hard track. You guys both brought it, but it was like you guys brought your own style, and it wasn't about like, oh, you know, if MALI was like immature and oh, he's doing all these fast rhythms, I got to go and bring something, and then it's like it ruins it. But as soon as there's like the elimination of ego and you being like, oh, I just want to bring it and do good, but it's not attached with any like fear or like stupid ego shit. That's kind of the thing. So I think for you, it's just like that sort of environment is really perfect. And like over the last few years, and like especially in this room, it's like that's what it's about for us. It's just like what can we do? What it's about the song. It's not about any of us. And so when you bring that energy in, and I feel like you thrive in that energy. So I'm glad that we could like, you know, help facilitate that for you as well.
Sure.
But
the spooky thing was that it was our first session.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
what was that process? Because you guys, was that the first time you two met?
Yeah.
And you were just like, all right, let's just cook.
We'd linked to we'd been trying to link a session for like 5 years, but just like the universe was not having it. There was like, it was like an earlier time when I was there, and I first went back to Sydney after the pandemic in March of 2022. And we tried to link one then, and it didn't pan out. Like I couldn't get a studio or some shit. Yeah. And then we went back in June or July, one of those. Yeah. And I linked the studio at Kiln Studios, and then last minute I was like, because MALI was with me, we were there doing stuff. I was like, oh, and I had no idea because I was like, I don't know if you're gonna vibe this, but I was just like, oh, can I bring MALI through? And you were just like, yeah, sure, kind of thing.
Because you sent me stuff. You was like, I got MALI, and I was like, yeah, for sure. Yeah, bring through.
And that was really it. And I had, and that's the thing with the scary thing about collaboration in music is that you don't really know. You just kind of.
I must say though, like Kobie's, it was like very professional. Like that's the whole vibe I got. Like as soon as you walked in, it was just, I don't know, there was just a sort of essence where it was like, we're gonna like put some work in, and I was just about it like from jump. I was like, yeah, let's
I know he hates when people are like, let's work, and no work gets done. I guess with that energy in the room, you're like, okay, we're actually gonna work. You know?
We got 2 tracks. We got 2 tracks. I was like,
3 tracks now.
And
I was saying in that one session, we got the 2 tracks, and it was cool because like that's since then I figured out I work better when I go in the studio and like I'll write something, and then like it's even kind of what we did today, like write an idea, or I'll write something and then completely switch and do something else. And it's like, it's kind of like a warm up, you know, like the first one was like, and it was because we first met as well, like we just met, finding out our styles together and like working on that beat. And then the second one was like kind of like, all right, I'm warmed up now. Like got the inspiration, and it was like, and then that's when that never that come to me. So.
Yeah, it's like doing something, playing sport together for the first time, or playing, you know, like you got to kind of warm up with that, or work out that person's moves and stuff like that, and then you know, you kind of go into it. But it was crazy that we were able to lock like we did so quick, like just after in one session, like and get a track like that out. But I mean, that's just testament to everybody else putting in the reps on their own, you know? And then so when that happens, and it's just a beautiful combination when you have, you know, people who've spent a lot of time on their craft and then also spent a lot of time, you know, with not having like ego or you know, having control over their ego, and then they lock, and then it's like, that is how you do music. That's how you do collaboration. Stop, in my mind.
And I'm also I can be a perfectionist sometimes too. That's why after I was like, I gotta re-record my verse.
We're like, nah.
And then,
you need that though. That's part of the collaboration. Like, I mean, for me as like producer and engineer, like it's definitely like my role to keep the session going. Like, if you're a producer that can't like make things flow and keep and push the artist to keep going and say, yep, that's good, and like help people make decisions, and that's, you know, those roles are not that's not done correctly. So
yeah, 100%.
no, it was it was really awesome, and like we couldn't wait for you to come here. It was so good that we could line this lined up all perfectly with you playing Perth Fest on the weekend and stuff, and
100%.
No, it was awesome. Never That out now, so
yeah, for real.
Go run it up.
It was actually before, when you were talking about movies and stuff, I thought when you were saying that, the similarities between you having a love for movies and your music, I feel like, especially in your early catalogue, or just your catalogue in general, a lot of them paint very vivid pictures of what you're saying. And I just want to say, like, that's the way you articulate yourself. And your surroundings. It's an insight into, your world, And man, if you're gonna write a short film, I know that's gonna be like incredible, and I can't wait to see that, for real.
Yeah, no, thanks, bro. It's definitely, I've been thinking about it for so long, and like I think I'm at a point now where it's like, just anything is possible, like just get out and just do it, like, and I'm at a point now I'm just like, fuck, whatever I want to do, I'm just gonna do it, like, and I think I've spoken it into the universe, and like, it's the worst that can happen is it's fucking shit, and then I can do it again, and I can do it again,
and so forth.
Like, but at least I don't want to fucking get like old and just be like, fuck, I wish I did that, like I wish I made a movie, or I wish I'd like, because I got to act, and like I've got to do that stuff and got to work around film and that kind of stuff, and I think now like I want to, it's just another thing that I just want to tick off, So I think throughout my life, like I've always done, I've always, whatever I wanted to do, and I used to think it was a problem. I think I thought I had something wrong with me, because I get so passionate about something and I give it my all, and then like I just get over it, and then I'm like, fuck, what's next? And I'll move on to something else, Like even like boxing, like I got so passionate with it, and like I did it for a while. Like I had like 16 fights, and like I loved it, boom. And then I was like, my mate told me like, you got to go back to rapping and stuff like that. I was like, yeah, I'll give it a go again. And then I fell back in love with rapping, and I started giving that my all. And it's like, I just get like this drive and this passion to do it. And it's like, now I've learned to not take that for granted and really just run with it. Because it's not like, especially with making music, sometimes you don't have that inspiration to make music, and that inspiration might be somewhere else. And like for me, I've learned to capitalize on that. Like if my inspiration's somewhere else, then do that. Like fucking go hard with that. Like it could take me in other avenues and shit, So.
And sometimes like the stories that I guess you end up writing come from living life.
Yeah, 100%.
So it's like doing these different things will give you different perspectives and different experiences to which you can now bring back to the pen and the pad and really 100%. Express it. So and we're complex individuals. We're not just Kobie Dee the rapper or so forth. We have so many different facets of, I guess, our personal that we gotta satisfy. And if it means, taking a break. I mean, Michael Jordan did it twice, and still came back and, and still shot hoops. So it's like,
Well, it's even like, because I was in London last year, and I did a show in Germany, and, but that was a massive time for me, because just before I went to London, my mate had passed away, and I was like mixed emotions of, like I was feeling heaps down because my mate passed, but I was also going to a new country for the first time. And I was, performing in a different country for the first time. And so it was massive highs and massive lows. And then I come back to Australia, and I went straight into a tour. Like I come back from Germany, and like that week I did a show in Melbourne. Then I come back and did a show in Sydney. And it was like just like all full speed ahead. Then I dropped basics. I dropped basics when I was in Germany. And like it was just like, I didn't have time to grieve, and I didn't have time to really process what was happening. But I also didn't really, I felt like I didn't take it in that I was actually doing like massive things as well. It was kind of like I was just on autopilot doing these things, and it felt good as well, but I didn't have the time to soak it in. And so when I got back and I did those shows and I went on that tour, when I got back, I took like 3 or 4 months off of just like not writing. I didn't write. I I just went straight to training, and I've been training like consistently after that, you know. Took a lot of that time.
Boxing?
Boxing, yeah. Took a lot of that time to spend with my daughter. I spent like, you know, just like so much more time with my daughter, and not that I don't spend time with my daughter, but like it was like days that, because usually I go in the studio and stuff when she's in daycare, or like I go in the studio and like use those times like that. And this time I was like picking her up early from school. I was like, just all these things of like spending extra time and spending like more time on just that and getting back to that. And I feel like doing all that, and then like I think it's like the start of this year, it's like it's all just come back, and I needed that time off because now I'm just ready to go. Like now I'm just like, get me in the studio. Like I wake up, like it's hard for me to sleep because I'm thinking of like lyrics. I'm thinking of like this EP. I'm thinking, you know, it's like,
you had to refill your cup.
Yeah. I needed to step away from it. And it was like, it's the best thing that I could have done.
Yeah. Talk about how, because I know for me, like I spent time playing like football, soccer at a very high level. And I found that like a lot of the things that I learned playing sport very intensely and very passionately, I came in with certain just attitudes and things that I've picked up, like good work ethic and how to deal with criticism and all these like shortcuts. I was just wondering if there was any transfer like that with you with boxing and coming into, or even rapping now, and even in your career, are you still like, what are you learning from that?
Yeah, definitely, like especially in my performances, there's such a correlation with boxing and rap for me. Like when I'm doing big shows, like I just you get that anxiety and it's exactly how I feel before a fight. Like I'm pumping myself. Yeah, swear to God.
You feel as nervous before a show than you do a fight.
Feel as nervous.
Really?
If anything, I feel more nervous to perform at sometimes.
Crazy.
Because with boxing, it was like I'm in control. You know, like if I'm gonna go out, you know, like I'm in control. On stage, you're not in control. You're out there and you're doing it, but you don't know how the crowd's gonna react. You know what I mean? True. You can do your best, right? And that's what I do. Like, but you forget lyrics. You're like just things that just like anything could happen in a fight. Anything can happen, but at least I'm in control. If I get the shit punched out of me, at least I'm in control. You know what I mean? And it's like, not that I ever got the shit punched out of me. But it was like, but even still, like you psych yourself up so much for a fight, and you get all these nerves, what could happen, and then as soon as you get in the ring, you're just like comfortable, and you're like, let's do this. And it's like on stage, once I do that first song, I'm like, I got this. It's like, why did I just fucking psych myself up like that?
Every time.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah. Because you're like, I could have, especially the Joey tour, like more nervous than I
Congrats. Also.
Tell us about that.
Yeah,
Congrats
big ups.
on that,
also,
man.
that's the moment right
there. Well, that's when I really incorporated like how I psych myself up for fights. Because even when I'm backstage, I'm shadow boxing and I'm psyching myself up like that.
Yes, sir.
I saw you shadow boxing in the pool this morning.
Yeah. Well, it's every boxer does it. Like every boxer does it.
Even non-boxers, bro.
Yeah. But it was like, fuck, at the start, like we did the Brisbane tour. I did the Brisbane show first, and that was just crazy. Like, and this show with the Joey, like it was different because I knew that they weren't there to see me, and I knew 90% of the crowd didn't know who I was. You know, and so my thinking of it at first was like, fuck, I'm just gonna do my songs, and that's it. Like they're here to see Joey. I'm gonna do my songs. If they like my music, they like my music. But usually I get up and I'll do my song, and then I'll speak a bit about my story. I speak about mental health. I speak about, being a young black man in this country, all these kind of stuff that I speak about in my music, I speak in between those breaks. And that's like how I engage and connect with the crowd, And I didn't do that for this one because I just felt like they just wanted to see Joey. So I don't know. I just kind of knocked him out. Brisbane was crazy. They reacted to everything I said. So it was like, but then Sydney, you could see I lost them a bit like halfway through. And it's because I was so nervous because I've done ML theatre before when I opened up for Dave.
Oh, snap.
And I was like, it was just a low point in my life. And I remember this one, I just wanted to, do it right this time. So I was nervous. and I just powered through it. And I could feel that I lost them at some point. They were still mad. Like they still cheered and like all that stuff. I had my brothers in the crowd and stuff like that. But then when we got to Melbourne, I was like, fuck it. I'm going to do what I usually do. I'm going to go out there and be myself. I'm going to go out there and act like this is my show. I'm going to act like everyone's here to see me, and I'm going to perform like I usually do. And the crowd, you could just see it. Like the crowd was so engaged on everything I had to say.
Yeah, that's dope.
You know, like, and I could just say like they stop and they just listen to every word that I had to say, especially when I told them what the song's about. It's like you're kind of building them up on what to expect. Yeah. And, you know, and like, then they want to hear about that, you know, like if you're talking about something and then your song's not about that, they're going to be like, what the fuck, you just built us up. But it's like, that's why like what you were saying before with like my storytelling is like, I can paint that picture and I can take them on that journey. And like, I think with the talking, it really helps that because they know what to expect. Yeah. And you know, like so with the Melbourne shows, like those were my best shows.
Who watched as well?
Hey?
Who was watching that Melbourne show?
Joey Badass. Joey Badass. Like, because he was like to me, he's like, oh yeah, I'll catch a show tonight. And I was kind of like, oh yeah.
That's mad respect on his part, eh? Because like there's no 100%. Really expectation of that, you know. Like, you know how it is, like you've been a headline before, like, you know, you're usually just pretty locked in on your set, like you don't have heaps of time to like give to supports, but for him to do that is,
well, because there was no expectation of him to do it. But then when I walked off the stage and I pulled the curtain across and he's standing right there, I'm like, and he's like, that's what's up. And he's like, he was talking about my storytelling and the way that I speak. And I was so glad that I did it for that show that he watched because I showed him me, you know what I mean? I showed him what I usually do, you know? And it was just a massive moment for me of like, right, this is what I'm here to do, you know? Like, and to have like one of your idols, like, you know, credit you for what you do.
And like, acknowledge your art.
Yeah. It's like, it's massive. And it was massive. It was like, that like was the biggest inspiration boost for me. And I think that's definitely why now I'm just like, I'm so like, let's get this EP. Like, let's do it. Yeah.
Maybe featuring Joey Badass.
Yeah.
Bro,
hopefully.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised.
Talk to us, I guess, about, I mean, here at the Inner Workings, we always talk about the actual, like, inner workings. Like, your team, your creative process. Like, do you have a particular producer or a studio you prefer working out of? Like, what is a typical, I guess, rollout or, like, creation process for you?
Well, definitely, like I definitely have a good team. Like my manager Marty.
Shout out
to Marty.
Shout out Marty.
Like we speak all the time about process and creativeness, and you know, Katie is another like massive member on my team. She lives in London, and like Marty and Katie, like I've known them since I was like young. Like Marty, I've known since I was like 10. Katie grew up with like my family, you know, like. So it's like I've known them for so long and they know me so well. So that when we have like our meetings about like creative processes and all this stuff, it's like they just get me and they know exactly, they know how to bring the best out of me and they know how to get my brain thinking, you know, because it's stuff that, it's how I would think, you know, it's how, and like a lot of the times I'm like, why don't I think of that? But it's like, that's why I've got them on my team, you know. And as far as like being in the studio, like, because that's where my work comes in now, you know what I mean? Like they can give me ideas and they can do all that stuff, but the real work, like I have to like produce that, you know? It's like, so like a lot of the time, like I love working with JT. JT has worked a lot. JT Hazard, yeah.
Shout out also.
Paper Toys, another
also
producer that I love working with.
So hard, yeah.
But yeah, like a lot of it, like I'm mostly in there with JT at the Sony studio in Surrey Hills. That's the studio I love going to. But I've also found like I love working now that I know how to record myself and I know how to do all that. Like, and I'm still learning. Like, but I get a lot of stuff done like going in there by myself, and because a lot of my tracks, like Jody, I wrote in my bed at like 3 a.m, you know, like.
Damn.
And About a Girl, like I wrote that till like 6 a.m, like of just sitting in my room. And just having this idea and not being able to stop and just sitting there and just writing and writing and writing. Right now, like I was drinking at a friend's house and everyone went to sleep and I'm just on the couch. Everything's quiet and I'm just like writing. You know, like so it's different. Like now that I'm in an actual studio, like I don't know, like I produce my best writing is like when I'm alone. I think because I can be creative as well. Because I get a bit shy, like I get a bit, you know, like when I've got people around and like, I don't know, maybe if it's a melody, maybe it's something like.
Because it's intimate. Creating music.
Yeah. And like when I'm by myself, I can do whatever the fuck I want. And I don't have to like, you know, I don't have to get, I guess, shy or anything. Like, I'm not too shy. Like I've definitely done some creative stuff today. But I'm getting more comfortable. More comfortable with it. But I do like my alone time in the studio. Because just to even think of concepts and stuff like that. And I just like dope. I do some of my best stuff alone.
Man, that's the thing that I just thought of, man. That's a testament to JCAL because, you know, it's people like him and 43 that like allow like
these
people
spaces.
like ourselves to, you know, be ourselves. You know, if we can't usually do, I mean, I can't usually do that with someone, you know, as it is. So for someone to facilitate that, I think that's pretty special. So big shout out to you, bro.
But even today, like I just hummed that like melody and he's like, that's sick. And I'm like, oh yeah, all right. So then we did it more and then fucking like, I love it. Like it sounds like sick, but even like that, like it's just like trying new things. And it's like, I'm always like, oh, how's someone else going to feel about this? You know, it's like, cause at the same time, it's like, it is about that. It's about like, even if I think it sounds good, it's also about how people are going to react to this. So.
It's just like flowing until the tank's empty. Like, you know about this. Like, it's just like, I do feel like with creativity, it's a lot about stamina. I always use this analogy. I've probably done it. How many episodes? Be up to fucking 10, 15. I probably use this every episode. But like, you know, creativity being kind of a bit like a relay race. Like, you know, you do your sprint and then if you've got other people that you're collaborating with, then you pass the baton on until you run the full 400 meters. But then if you're doing it by yourself, then maybe you've got to stop and take breaks, creative breaks until you can like, you know, run the next leg. And so, that's like, I guess what we did today. We did two little ideas. They're they're not fully written songs, but it was like, we didn't try to like just hit our head against the wall until I was like, and I feel like I've sort of worked on getting a good gauge on that with artists where I'm like, I can kind of tell when you're hitting a bit of a wall and which is that's normal. So then I'm like, cool, let's do something new. But then I also kind of have that gauge and it's just from experience. It's not some gift or anything,
reps.
But it's just reps and experience. It's just like, okay, then I know like, okay, no, we're still onto something. Let's like keep going. And that's even the same when I'm doing ideas, making a beat. Like that second idea, there was a couple of times, I don't know if you noticed, but like there was one point where it was the first beat. There's one point where I muted all of the samples and I just kept the drums. I was literally about to just switch the whole beat up because I was like, oh, I don't know. But then I heard that you were like sort of like harmonizing with the samples that were there. And I was like, okay, no, I'll keep them in. So even I do that with when I'm making beats, I'll like often like, you know, I just have that feeling and I want to like move on. But there's no, you know, you don't have that until you kind of just keep doing stuff. But I feel even though we haven't worked heaps together, I still feel comfortable doing that with you because I know you're like about it and you're not driven by anything other than passion.
Music,
yeah. Speaking of music, what type of music did you grow up listening to? What type of music is in your surroundings?
So I grew up on a lot of R&B. Like my mum's, if I heard Usher playing in the morning, I knew mum was cleaning up. Like shit like that. Like my mum played she had the Doggy Style album, you know, like Tupac, Eazy-E, Erykah Badu. She played a lot of Erykah Badu when I was younger. Yeah, like all that kind of stuff. But also like Red Hot Chili Peppers. My mum loved Red Hot Chili Peppers. Like I remember we had the album and then the DVD that had like all the music videos on it. And, like,
she's a fan.
Yeah. And like I loved it when I was younger. And my uncles, they were all like really good guitar players. So like they introduced me like Jimi Hendrix, Johnny Cash, Rage Against the Machine. Like, all these like, it was just a wide range of different music that I grew up. But I definitely went more like I loved Jimi Hendrix when I was younger because my uncle, he taught me how to play Purple Haze on guitar, and so I've just practiced it all the time. And I started getting more into like, Jimi Hendrix, Johnny Cash. Loved Johnny Cash when I was younger as well. And yeah, so it's like, it's
definitely a wide range. Holy shit.
Hey?
That's wide range.
Yeah. Especially watching the Johnny Cash movie, Walk the Line. Like, I think watching movies on artists makes me like so much more of a bigger fan. Like,
Dude.
I think like even Biggie Smalls, I wasn't much of a Biggie Smalls fan until the Notorious
came out. Yeah.
Like,
So you're Team Tupac?
Yeah, 100%. I was like, wow, I was so West Coast when I was younger. Like, I was only West Coast. I just love West Coast.
Well, you hear, you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's it. But like, I was such a Tupac fan that I used to write diss tracks to Biggie Smalls. When I was younger, like, I was like fucking 13 years old, like just dissing like Biggie because Tupac hated, like I thought Tupac hated Biggie, you know? So I was like, fuck Biggie, like, all that shit, you know? I was like, but like, that was just like my early days of just like wanting to be like Tupac, you know, wanting to be like those artists and yeah, just like kind of mimicking like them, you know?
Yeah, straight up.
I have a question about what frustrations. I know off air we were discussing how as a conscious, rapper and musician in an infant industry like Australia, all right, it's kind of hard trying to, I guess see or feel whether or not you're reaching your market or your audience. You want to tap into that a little bit and what maybe your time overseas last year has kind of opened you up to? Yeah,
I think like as a rapper and the stuff that I rap about, I feel like it's I just feel like overseas it's like there's just a different appreciation for it. Especially being a lyrical and a conscious rapper. Like I feel like it's just appreciated a bit more like in somewhere like America, to where I think here it's like, I don't know, it's a bit harder to I guess find that audience, like of that want to hear that stuff. And like there is a lot out there, but I think it's just like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like,
no, I definitely understand. It's a hard audience to gauge and even like attract. I also think it's a very it's a very standoffish community where they don't really trust anything that really comes out nowadays. It's very closed in, or like if anything they love like super underground stuff, or just the general people that appreciate lyrical miracles, lyrical tyrical.
But that's why, because I think like I know that you're the same, like that love for like hip hop and that love for real lyricism and that love for like that sound. And I think it's like there are people here in this country that appreciate and love that, but I think the scene, like I don't know, like I think it's also creating its own sound kind of like here in this country that people are more attracted to, I think just like I think we're very old school and very like of what the roots of hip hop is, and I think it's I feel like
but in the same vein, right? Clearly you can see that there's a market. I mean, if someone like Joey, who is like quintessential birthed in that sound of that golden era hip hop sound, but obviously he's got his modern takes and his, little bit of finesses in the catalog. Seeing that, okay, if someone like him can sell out arenas like this in Australia, there's definitely a market for music that I guess the both of you guys make. And it kind of gives you that, okay, it is possible, but how do I put myself in position to, I guess, to get there, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. And I think like, I think it's like, I think a lot of people too are like, it's if you make that fucking hit, then people go back to your old music and then people start appreciating.
And that's why it's so important for your catalog to always be putting out like consistently good music, because you don't want people to like discover you. Let's say people that found you on the tour for the first time, they'd go back and check and be, oh snap, he's got this, he's got this, he's got this, and it converts.
Yeah, it's a consistent release thing is more important now than ever, because I feel like there maybe would have been a point in time where, you could muster up funds and do a tour and probably get get some sort of like following for being a great live act, but like now it's really about like the music that you have more than ever, you know, and like I think the buzz you have surrounding you is definitely, you know, about how consistent you are with the releases, like on how good, you know, putting out consistent good releases, which, you know, you've been doing for 6 years now or whatever. So you know,
definitely, because even like a song like Jody's just keeps climbing. Like Jody's like one of my older tracks, you know, and the one that not surprised me, but the one that like has had a massive jump just within the last few months is This Life. And like I put out I put out This Life before Jody, you know, like and that's been out like longer than nearly all of my tracks, you know, like it was I dropped Right Now and then I dropped This Life for my first 2 tracks. And in the past 6 months it's like jumped up, like it's like I don't know the numbers, but it's like my second most listened to track on Spotify. I think it's the second or the third, but it's like it just keeps climbing because people obviously would have probably heard Basics or seen me on the tour or something like that, and then they've gone back and it's like it's getting more appreciation than it did when I first dropped it.
And these things now, it's like it's almost like it's a rebirth and surprising again because like we've had, you know, the pandemic for, you know, 2/3 years, whatever. So it's interesting now, like you getting on these bigger support tours, which, you know, you said you supported Dave. That was obviously before the pandemic. So you've had a taste of that. But it's interesting now, like, I was saying this to you the other day, like, like actually thinking about playing, like how the music's going to respond live and what people are going to take away after they see you live, like having that thought again, it's actually exciting. Whereas before it was just like, you know, you were still putting music out during the pandemic, so were we. But it was just such a different feeling than it is now. You know, you actually get to think like, this is going to be played in front of people and my catalogue is going to be, you know, if people, you know, really mess with me, then they're going to play shit from my catalogue afterwards. And it's like, it's an interesting landscape now that's back again. It's good.
I think I had that experience when we put out Hours Before Sunrise, like my first EP, and we put that out in the pandemic, so there was nothing going on. So therefore, we were just in the studio making music that we wanted to make. So there was no shows, so there was no exterior factors for making the music other than just making music. But what it did was it pushed something out that really just captured a moment in time. And, you know, I've grown and, you know, past that point. But after I got over it and, you know, it became hard to listen to, I really just like took that moment into account because I didn't want to feel that way about like my music anymore. I wanted to be able to like go through the catalogue and be proud and, you know, and I think now it's like, I think that's like one of my main goals. My main focus is just to keep a consistent catalogue and make music that I want to make. And I think that's like just such a positive turn. And I'm really grateful for that.
Speaking of music you want to make, you being signed, has that affected any of your creative process, or like have your industry ties kind of tried to lean you towards one way, or have they kind of been like, we love you for you, we want you to do you, we're going to support you?
They've definitely like given me ideas of like what kind of track, like say it was like Dubs was a bit of a more experiment track, you know, like of do something a bit more fun, a bit more like, you know, like stuff like that, like, but it was still very much like they were, like, because it was Briggs. I was in the studio with Briggs and like he was like telling me like you know, like it's just a track that kind of need on my catalogue, you know, and but it wasn't like trying to control my creative process or anything like that. It was like sort of just giving me the idea of what a track to do, and it just came up with that. But I think like they've been it's very much like I create what I want to create, and they're very supportive of like what I write about, and so it hasn't affected my creativeness or anything like that at all. It's like it's more or less just giving me ideas of what ways that I could go, like or stuff like that. So, but I'm still very much in control of like my music and stuff. So yeah.
I got one more. Sorry, guys.
Please.
As someone, you know, who's been in the industry for this long, how do you manage expectation? Like, especially come like release day. I know a lot of people that watch, not only for this, but even internally within the team, it's like, when we put out songs, obviously we're like, oh, you know, we have this grand idea, but we've noticed it never goes according to, you know, what we think it's going to happen. And I think over the last couple of years, we've really kind of come to terms with like, okay, the only thing we can control is the music and how we put it out and how we distribute it. How other people take it on is up to them. But so long as we do a good job, we kind of, you know, handle what we handle. On your end, obviously being a bit more established than where we're at, how do you handle or like deal with expectations or like keep yourself even keeled?
I don't know. Like, do
you have any expectation of your music when it comes out, or are you kind of like let it be?
I have before, but I'm kind of like, I don't know. Sometimes I don't like criticism. Sometimes I don't like. So sometimes when I put a song out, I'm just like, I don't want to hear about it. I'll put it out. That's yours now. Like, receive it how you want to receive it. And I'm just like, I'm going to move on to what's next. And I'm going to, you know, like, because I don't know, like it's funny, like putting out something that means so much to you, and you know, like it's a part of you. It's your stories. It's all this, and it's like, you know, some people like they're not gonna like it. Some people are gonna like it, and for me, it's just like I like it. I'm happy with how it coming out. Like, however it's received by you guys, it's yours now. Like, that's up to you. So, like, I kind of don't have any expectations for it. And it's kind of hard because when I did the Bars of Steel, I had no expectations for that. So like, I knew it was mad. Like I knew it was good. I knew it was a good track, but I had no expectations. I was like, all right, I'm going to do this Bars of Steel. And then
here you go.
Yeah, did it. And then it just like kind of just went crazy. And then so after that, like, I don't think I had time to, like, I shot the video for Same Old Shit. And I think my thinking at that stage too was like, I had so much going on. I went to rehab not long after the Bars of Steel dropped. So, you know, I took a lot of time away from music again. And I think my whole thought process of my art and my music and stuff, it became more just personal. And it became more of like, I just seen it as an expression of my art and an expression of myself. And it was less about trying to get big. It was less about, you know, like, I loved what it was doing for me, the fact that I could reach the youth, you know, and I can speak to the youth, and I can, because like I always wanted to be a caseworker. I always wanted to be a social worker or something like that, you know, and I loved that just from Jody. It gave me a platform to be able to speak to these young kids, and they actually want to listen to what I had to say. So it was more so of like the stuff that I put out, like I'm conscious of that it's reaching that younger audience as well. And like, I think they're the expectations that's like, I'm not.
Yo, that's
very
dope.
wholehearted.
That's
genuine.
dope.
Yeah, and that's what we love about you.
Yeah, like I'm not thinking of like, oh, this is kind of like, it's like, I'm just very conscious of what I'm talking about, and I'm very conscious of the education side too. You know, like we were speaking about it. You know, of you know, some kid doesn't have to go through what I went through. You know, like that's a massive thing. It's like, even like when I talk between my songs at that Joey show, you know, like I know there's so many people in that audience affected by mental health and affected, you know, there's so many people that have been affected by suicide or something like that. And that's what I talk about. And it's like, I'm up here and I'm speaking my stories and the stuff that I've been through, and I know that people can relate to that. So it's like, that's my expectation of just like, I just
try to spread the word, and
let's see who this connects to, and let's, you know, like, yeah, it's more of a connection thing than really expecting it to blow or anything like that. So, yeah,
it's beautiful, bro.
It's a long reply, but
nah, that's dope.
Please, man.
We like to get into it out here. I'm
I think
good,
on that
bro.
note, that's
I'm
beautiful,
good. I got
man.
my shit off, you know.
Honestly, thank you so much for coming on today. Thanks so much for being here.
no worries.
Kobie Dee, everyone. MALI Jose, Ashmaz.
Appreciate it.
I'm JCAL.
Thank you.
And this is the inner workings, yo.
There'll be another part. We got to get you back on. There's more to go into.
For sure.
All right. Peace.
Thanks,
Peace.
Thank you.